It didn't make sense. It was all kind of people popping out the woodworks, calling themselves Obidient. After a while, they said, no structure. It's a structureless, then they will soon fizzle out. And then you guys started with the rallies. And then the rallies snowballed, began to spring up all over the country. They say, oh, it's an Igbo thing. Soon you began to see rallies in the east, in the north, in the west, Lagos, everywhere. Rallies began to spring up. But this does not define the movement. What is the Obidient movement? So, what is a movement? A movement is essentially a group of people who have coalesced behind a particular set of ideas. So you can only define a movement by the ideas that it propagates, the ideals that the movement holds there. That means a collection of people have common ideas as to what they want, and it is these ideas and ideals behind which they will coalesce. But that is not enough. Not when it is a movement that considers itself revolutionary. Because I am not part of any movement that is not revolutionary. I felt the pulse of the people who were calling themselves the Obedients. And what did I find? They want a different Nigeria. It was captured behind simple ideals, simple small sentences, from consumption to production. How do you move from consumption that saw over 1,000 people going for a conference that saw an unqualified person labeled as the chief scientist of the federation going for a jamboree? That is consumption. To move that mindset to production, you probably see not more than 3 or 4 people going for that conference. Yeah, not because it's not important, because there was no need for the jamboree. If they would, look, the National Library remains unbuilt in Abuja, but they are budgeting billions to build a house, billions to build a house for the vice president. Have the other ones been homeless? That is consumption. Those are the kind of ideas behind which the movement coalesced. Now, movement does not exist in a vacuum. See, NEPA did their thing. The reality of living in a country where it is more important for men to buy fleets of bulletproof cars than to improve the security of everybody living in the country. The Nigeria in which we are finding ourselves today, the one in which we live today, is one that does not have space or room for the idea of citizenship. It has no space for the idea of the rule of law. It has no space for the idea of equality. The audacity of the Obidient movement is that all those who have been disadvantaged by Nigeria across the length and breadth of Nigeria found themselves. They found themselves not necessarily because they were all lost, but because you cannot build anything, you cannot even gain a revolution if you are incapable of building coalitions. The Obidient movement is essentially a coalition of those who have been marginalized by Nigeria, those who have in one way or the other been victimized by Nigeria, whether those be Hausa, whether those be Yoruba, those who aspire for a better country, one that is hinged to reason, that understands the need to plan for a future for the children Those are the people that came together and started calling themselves the Obidient. There is a quote by Kwame Nkrumah, and I posted it this morning. And what he says is very simple. He says revolutions are brought about by men who think as men of action and act as men of thought. When NSAS happened, we could take to the streets, we could encourage anarchy, but to what end? Systems such as evil as the one in which we live is actually happy when you engage it with violence, because engaging it with violence means that you never get to deal with it at the level of reasoning, which is what it prefers not to do. It will prefer that you carried cordials, go onto the street, burn tires, it sends in the mindless soldiers, the same sort that they had killing people at the Lekki toll gate and all over Nigeria, in Obigbo, in Kafanchan. The Shiites that are killed almost like they are flies simply because their humanity is discounted on account of sectarian differences. Just like the humanity of different ethnicities are discounted on account of ethnic differences or because they're simply following the orders. The humanity of persons are discounted on the order of the state by persons who are sworn to protect those who are meant to be citizens. So, after MSAS, we realized that the only way to have this change peacefully, at least that's what the system told us, go and vote. If we're a democracy, our votes should make the difference. Those who believe that their party is right should be willing to subject themselves to the public whom they pretend to serve. So, we went ahead, encouraged the people to register to vote. We were preserving the idea of citizenship, the same one that was behind NSAS, the same audacity. Look, let's be clear about something. Without the efforts of people who have gone before, none of us would be. Without Yele Sowore, and I'm coming to that, the Nigerian state need to let go of Yele Sowore. Without Yele Sowore, there wouldn't have been an NSAS. And my reasons are simple. It took the organization of the Revolution Now movement acting in concert, and this is the thing that is key, acting in concert with other elements of Nigerians, both those who agree with militant actions and those who do not. I don't. They do. Militant actions in the sense of frontal confrontation with the state, not violent. So those who would have flinched at the idea of voting for the Igbo man recognize that looking at the Igbo man in Nigeria today is looking at themselves, looking in the mirror, because every affliction that once assailed only one now assails all. You who understands that your purpose is to change this space for your children and to preserve it for future generations. You are the ones who say you are a member of the Obidient movement. You have no guns to carry. You're not throwing stones. You need to win their hearts and mind. Yes, some have no heart and some are mindless. But do your own bit. And don't spread hatred. Don't join them. They will provoke you. Don't join them. Be sensitive to their ignorance. Do not let them lead you into validating their hatred. They say you are rude. We're not rude, we're forthright. Be forthright in making your demands. Yeah. One of the most wicked things that have ever been done to the African is the separation of the African from his original spirituality. I know that a lot of my religious brothers and sisters find it very difficult to wrap their brains around this simple logic. And that is also easy to understand. Centuries of indoctrination rooted in cultural and spiritual genocide has made it very difficult for Africans to understand the extent of damage that has been done to our collective psyche by the separation of the African from his original spirituality. Ours is the only race whose gods look nothing like them, whose gods have no feeling or relativity for the afflictions that have befallen us. We pray to the God of Israel, and then we pray facing Mecca. They've all enslaved us. That is the root of our relationship with these religions and those who have brought them to us. You have the Bible and the Quran practically in every language. I do not see math tests, physics tests in every language amongst the Africans. What happened to our medicine? Didn't we have any medicine before the white men came? What happened to it? What became of our foods to the point where today I'm told that every beans that we are eating, they call it cow peas. Cow peas is for cows. They're genetically modified. We're losing our food security. We're unable to feed ourselves, and we're becoming increasingly dependent on a world that has based the assumption of its wealth on the back of our own slavery. We can't cure ourselves. We're completely dependent on the West, on China, on India, to give us medicines. These were things they came to study from us. We've been separated from our roots. Now they're coming here to take our music because that is the only thing they could never take away. Our ingenuity, our God-given genius and brains. They come in here, they're copying, they're taking it. Artificial intelligence, they'll do their best with that, but it will never replace the African brain. But what has the African done with his brain? We've been separated from reason, average understanding of who we are as a collective. I was warning you not to allow yourselves to be divided and die in the wars that they were fighting to gain control of the country from each other and for each other's benefit, not yours. You were never in their calculation. I did my best, but of course, you didn't hear. So, and I can't blame you. What were the options? I couldn't blame you. So, the imperative of the Nigerian Revolution came out, and it outlined clearly the exact nature of the struggle that is before us. It is not tribal, it is not ethnic, it is even just hiding behind religion. It hides behind the Fulani agenda, but it is the Fulani is as much a victim as me and you. Look, 200 or so killed in Kaduna. The only thing you are hearing from northern winners is let bygone be bygone. It has happened, it is gone. It is because the northerners mattered nothing in the calculation of the northern elite. It is only about selfish interest. And that selfish interest is not ethnic. It might have ethnic, okay, look, Tinubu is in Abuja now, and they are shouting Lagosification of Abuja. Tinubu doesn't care whether the people he works with are Igbo, Yoruba, whatever they care to be, as long as they further the group interest. It's about group interest. So you might have factions within the group. That is why you would have the NSA Ribadu coming out to explain, oh, Buhari is the one that is the Buhari regime that has placed us in this mess. In fact, Jonathan is to blame for the billions that have been voted for Shetima's castle. At the end of the day, they care nothing. It is only about themselves. So, that class has settled its quarrels. They have no more wars amongst themselves. They will negotiate truces to resolve their problems. But the victim's lot remains unchanged. The Nigerian state introduced itself very boldly to the Nigerian. However gullible the Nigerian might be, unless you are evil, you must come to the understanding of the deadly efficiency, evil, venal efficiency of the Nigerian ruining cracks. It introduced itself frontally at the Lekki toll gate. It's had multiple places where it could have plausible deniability. Kafanchan, Zaria, Abuja, where it had been killing Shia, Obigbo, the whole of Alaigbo, where it's been killing people just because they're demanding to be treated as citizens. It mollycoddles terrorists, bandits of all sorts, normalizes evil, but those who demand citizenship are enemies in the eyes of the Nigerian state. So, the last electoral cycle had the backdrop of NSAS and the massacre that followed it. And we spent that session, that season, telling you, go and register to vote. It was critical in the electoral phase that we educated you, that you were properly mobilized to understand your powers as citizens in a democracy, even though we knew that you were neither citizens nor were we in a democracy. But it was critical that we played the game so that the system would not turn around and say that we were anarchists. So, the coup de grace was the judiciary introducing itself to you. That was critical. It then went further. In the days just before the election, deployed soldiers across the entire South. When the like of us saw that these soldiers were not employed in election security, we knew that their job was to re-enact whatever it took, whether it was the Abacha formula of November 1993, or whether it was back to Lekki toll gate again. But we also could see how it had ethnicized the entire argument and sought to make enemies of brothers. We are done with belly aching. Those who have ruined this country, they are not even anywhere near as intelligent as the average Nigerian laborer. I'll show you. It's the master planner, right? He can't even forge a certificate. Think about that. So, they have been sustained by our own collective idiocies. This season is done. We're entering a new season. Get ready. The mammoth crowd that was at the TBS, venue of the experience. I used to be a loyal customer. Oh, sorry. Yes, I used to be very loyal in attendance at the experience and in church as well. But there is something I would like to find out from those of you who attended. Did the pastor talk about the evil that has overtaken our country? Did he preach against the wickedness of the ruling class? Yes. Did he? Okay, so I know that Saul has come. David is coming. But the question is, did we just go have a party in God's presence without talking to ourselves? God is the God of truth. God is the God of truth. I blame not the clergies who are normalizing the evil. I blame those of us who have failed to provide leadership. They are doing their job. But any gathering of Christians anywhere in this country today that does not speak to the demand of truth, justice, probity. It's just a party.